After a few more minutes at the restaurant, this lesson will switch over to Max and Max Radio, which means that you'll see a picture of a radio and you'll hear me telling you some stories. So if you want to, use this time to do something else while you listen to the radio. But first I want to tell you that a couple of years ago I went to South America. I went to a place in Peru by Machu Picchu, and there was a restaurant there that claimed to make Mexican food. I got some, and I have to tell you, it was the worst Mexican food I've ever had. Now forget about that Peruvian restaurant and think about the thousands of Mexican restaurants around this country that really aren't Mexican. They're Tex-Mex, and they're really popular restaurants. So it's not that the food that you eat in the other restaurants that say they're Mexican but aren't really, it's not that their food isn't good. Their food is very good. But you see, there's a lot of adventure in eating food that you're not used to. Some of it you can learn to like real well. Some of it you'll like right away. None of these tres tacos that I'm eating today are part of the usual American diet. One of the reasons this is truly Mexican is that in Mexico you don't normally have ground beef, carne molida. You'll get that where people are trying to make the food comfortable for most U.S. citizens. They'll use a lot of hamburger because that's the way most people in this country think of a taco. Now I'm coming to you on the Max and Max Radio. Sometimes I'll do it like this. The first time I went to Mexico, I was not used to their food yet. I thought I was, but up until that time I had eaten food that was made by people from Mexico, but who were making it the way that they knew we could eat it here. Well, anyway, I was about, I don't know if I was 23 maybe, the very first time I went to Mexico. Now, everybody in the Spanish-speaking countries does not eat food and make food the same way people do in Mexico. Mexico's a very big country, and not everybody in Mexico eats the same kind of food, but pretty much they know what Mexican food is. If you're thinking about hot Mexican food, the kind that stings your tongue, I haven't gone anywhere in Mexico where the people didn't know about that kind of food and that kind of cooking. They love the salsa, and everywhere I ever went, they put salsa out, 2 or 3 kinds of it. Well, I was there, and I had been there for several weeks, and one day I realized I didn't have enough money. I don't know what happened, but somehow I guess I didn't plan my money right, and I was just about out. So I had a little bit of money and a big appetite. I had to eat something, had to do something, had to spend almost all that I had left. And there I was, down in the heart of Mexico. So I went to a restaurant. Pretty nice one. And I sat at the table, and the waiters came by and took my order. But I didn't know what I was ordering, because the names of those dishes on the menu, well, I mean, you can name a dish anything you want, and maybe nobody's going to know what it is. I like chocolate oatmeal cookies, but some people don't call them that. They call them unbaked cookies. Some people don't call them that either. They call them stovetop cookies. Well, if you don't know what these names are referring to, you don't know what you're going to eat. Well, there I was in this nice restaurant looking at all these fancy names. So I just ordered one. Along comes the waiter, and he gives me this plate. And I see these 3 enchiladas. Those are tortillas rolled up. Actually, I think a couple tortillas had chicken in them, and I forget what else. And there were 2 others that I had ordered that had some kind of beef in them. So these were rolled up, 4 of them side by side, and that was great, except what they brought me was something that was a total surprise. I had never experienced guacamole sauce, a bright green sauce over these perfectly delicious enchiladas. They had also brought me some rice. It was the kind of restaurant where they stand back and they keep an eye on the customers. And when they see you're done with one thing, then they come and bring you something else. I guess the first things I ate were probably rice and beans and some chips, probably. Down there we call them duros. They took away the plate that had the rice and beans on it and brought me the cuatro enchiladas with the guacamole over the top of them. And that's where, for me, the whole thing had to come to an end. I tried to enjoy it, but to tell you the truth, because I hadn't seen that sauce before, I hadn't seen, we don't eat green stuff like that. We have green lettuce and green broccoli, vegetables, but we almost never eat anything that's green otherwise. I just couldn't do it. It's simply because I wasn't expecting it. So every bite I took was a tremendous effort, and I didn't want to take another bite, but I was starving, and my stomach was saying, "Russell, feed me! I'm starving to death! I'm empty!" So I did my best. After about 5 bites, I got up, I paid my bill, and I left. Nowadays, of course, I have eaten a lot of that kind of food. I ate some the other day, and it's always a pleasure to eat it. I have done this with students. We have brought food into classrooms when I used to teach in the buildings, and I would tell them ahead of time, this is what it's going to be like. Then they were fine. They could eat it. But if I didn't tell them, they were just like me the first time I saw that stuff. Green sauce? Well, today I'm telling you because I want you to be able to enjoy the food. One time I took a class from Fort Wayne, Indiana, over to Chicago, Illinois, to a Puerto Rican neighborhood. They told us about a Mexican restaurant that they said would be really good. We just had to go there if we wanted the real thing. At that time, I still didn't know about some of the other foods of Mexico. And a lot of people in the Spanish-speaking world are not familiar with Mexican food. So they would have done the same thing I did. They would have had a tough time. In this case, the people at the restaurant brought out some other things that I hadn't tasted before. And one of those things is a sauce that is made from goat's milk. Now, it's delicious. It's just that, once again, you have to remember to think right. And thinking right, in this case, means don't think that when they bring you enchiladas and tacos, that they're bringing it with sour cream. And for some reason, the students and some of the parents and I thought that we were getting sour cream. Now, I know better than to think that, but that's how I was thinking that particular day. We sat down at a nice restaurant, and the waitress brought our Mexican food, and it was truly Mexican. We had such a hard time eating it because we were expecting the Tex-Mex food, the kind of stuff that we call Mexican food in most states in the United States. We all tried. I encouraged the kids to do their best and be brave. There was no way to get them past the sauce that they thought was sour cream. It's delicious, but they weren't expecting it. And therefore, we left that restaurant with a whole bunch of delicious Mexican food sitting there untouched. I ate most of mine, but it was that sauce that caught me off guard. This time, kind of an eggshell white. Not pure white, but a dull white. But after that, I came to love it and to expect it. I loved it when I was in South America, anywhere now. Now remember, people in other Spanish-speaking countries, they don't all eat the same thing, and so they would be caught off guard too. Remember, if you're going to be a world traveler, you can't go around this world saying, "I want a hamburger and French fries."